Neglects price tag. Fire. Explosion emoji. Cavities cost Americans thousands. What if I told you that a problem smaller than a grain of rice could cost you thousands of dollars? Not surgery, not an accident, a tiny cavity. And in the United States, millions of people pay that price every single year. This is not a rare disease. This is not bad luck. This is a slow, silent financial trap that most people walk into without even knowing it. Today, I'm going to show you exactly how it happens, why it costs so much, and most importantly, how you can avoid it forever. Let's start from the beginning. It starts small. No pain, no warning, nothing serious, or at least, that's what people think. You feel a slight sensitivity, maybe a little discomfort when you drink something cold, maybe a tiny dark spot on your tooth that you notice in the mirror. You ignore it, because life is busy, because it doesn't hurt that much, because dental care feels expensive, because you have other bills to pay. So you wait. And that is where the real problem begins. Let's say you are a typical American. You work hard. You have rent or a mortgage. You have car payments, groceries, phone bills. Maybe you have dental insurance through your job. Maybe you don't. You tell yourself, I'll deal with it later. Weeks pass. That tiny cavity is getting deeper. Still no major pain, so you keep ignoring it. Months pass. Now bacteria have reached the deeper layers of your tooth. Your enamel, the hard outer shell, is gone. Your dentin, the softer, sensitive layer underneath, is compromised. And suddenly, you wake up one morning with sharp, throbbing pain. You cannot chew. You cannot focus. The pain spreads to your jaw and your head. You cannot sleep at night. Now it's not optional anymore. You have to go to the dentist. And here's where things get real. What could have been a simple filling now requires a root canal. In the United States, that does not come cheap. A root canal on a single tooth, especially a molar, costs between $700 and $1,500 with insurance, and often much more without. And that's not the end. After a root canal, most patients need a crown to protect the tooth. That is another major cost added on top, anywhere from $800 to $3,000. So that tiny cavity you ignored just turned into a massive problem, anywhere from $1,500 to $4,500 or more for just one tooth. And remember, this is for one cavity. Many Americans have several. Here is the shocking truth. This happens to millions of Americans every year. According to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, the CDC, more than 1 in 4 adults in the United States has untreated tooth decay. That is over 65 million people. Not because they don't care, but because they waited too long. Because dental care is not always covered by insurance. Because people underestimate how fast decay spreads. Because cavities do not always hurt until it is too late. Let's break down the anatomy of a tooth so you really understand what is happening. Your tooth has 3 main layers. First, enamel. This is the hardest substance in your body. It has no nerves. When a cavity is only in the enamel, you feel absolutely nothing. That is why most people have no idea anything is wrong. Second, dentin. This layer is softer and contains tiny tubes that lead directly to the nerve. Once the cavity reaches dentin, you might start feeling sensitivity to cold, hot, or sweet things. But the pain often comes and goes. So you think, it's fine. It will go away. It will not. Third, the pulp. This is the innermost part of the tooth. It contains nerves, blood vessels, and connective tissue. When bacteria reach the pulp, they cause inflammation, that is called pulpitis. Now the pain becomes constant, throbbing, and often severe. You cannot ignore it anymore. But by this point, the damage is already serious. Once the pulp is infected, the tooth cannot heal on its own. You have 2 options: a root canal to remove the infected pulp, or extraction to remove the entire tooth. And both are expensive. But wait, it can actually get worse. If you still delay treatment after the pain starts, the infection can spread beyond the tooth. It can form an abscess, a pocket of pus at the root of the tooth. This abscess can grow into your jawbone, into your gums, even into your bloodstream. A dental abscess is a medical emergency. It can cause fever, swelling of the face, difficulty swallowing or breathing, and in rare cases, death. And now you are not just seeing a dentist. You are going to the emergency room. You are getting 4 antibiotics, CT scans, possibly surgery. That bill? Easily $10,000 to $20,000 or more. All because of one tiny cavity that you ignored for too long. So let's talk about money. Let's get real about the numbers. A simple filling, the treatment for a small cavity that is caught early, costs between $100 and $300 with insurance. Without insurance, between $200 and $500. A root canal, needed once the decay reaches the pulp, costs between $700 and $1,500 for a front tooth and up to $2,000 for a molar. A dental crown, almost always required after a root canal, costs between $800 and $3,000, depending on the material and the lab. So the total for one tooth that started as a tiny cavity, between $1,500 and $4,500. If you need an extraction instead, that is between $75 and $400. But then you need a replacement. A bridge costs $1,500 to $5,000. A dental implant, the gold standard, costs $3,000 to $6,000, plus the crown on top. That is easily $5,000 to $10,000 for one missing tooth. Now compare that to prevention. A routine dental checkup and cleaning, often 100% covered by insurance. Without insurance, between $100 and $200. Fluoride treatment, $20 to $50. Dental sealants, which physically block cavities from forming in the grooves of your teeth, $30 to $60 per tooth. You can get a year of preventive care, 2 checkups, 2 cleanings, fluoride, and sealants, for less than the cost of one root canal. The math is not complicated. Prevention is cheap. Neglect is expensive. But here is the psychological trap. Why do intelligent, hardworking people ignore their teeth? Because no immediate pain means no urgency. Humans are wired to respond to immediate threats, not slow, invisible problems. This is called hyperbolic discounting. We prefer smaller, immediate rewards over larger, future benefits. Your brain says, I don't want to spend $200 today on a filling. That money can go toward dinner out, new shoes, gas for the week. But your brain does not naturally calculate the future cost. It does not say, if I don't spend $200 today, I will probably spend $3,000 in 18 months. And so you wait, and the price multiplies. There is also fear. Dental anxiety is real. Up to 20% of Americans avoid the dentist because of fear of pain, fear of needles, fear of the drill, fear of the cost. But here is the irony. Modern dentistry is almost painless. Numbing gels, local anesthetics, and sedation options make even root canals comfortable. The pain you fear is nothing compared to the pain of an untreated abscess. So how do you break the cycle? First, change your mindset. Stop thinking of dental care as an expense. Start thinking of it as an investment. A $200 filling today saves you $3,000 next year. That is a 1,500% return on investment. You would be thrilled with that return in the stock market. Second, remove the barriers. If you don't have insurance, search for dental schools near me. Dental schools offer high-quality care at 50 to 70% off retail prices because students perform the work under the supervision of experienced professors. Third, look for community health centers. Federally qualified health centers offer dental care on a sliding fee scale based on your income. You might pay $20 for a cleaning. You might pay $50 for a filling. Fourth, ask about in-house membership plans. Many private dental offices now offer annual plans for $300 to $500. That includes 2 cleanings, 2 exams, all x-rays, and a 20 to 30% discount on any treatment you need. Fifth, use your flexible spending account or health savings account if you have one. Those are pre-tax dollars. They make dental care more affordable. And sixth, this is the most important, do not wait for pain. Pain is a late sign. By the time a tooth hurts, the decay is deep and the treatment is expensive. Go for a checkup when nothing hurts. That is the secret. Your dentist can find cavities when they are still tiny, still cheap, still easy to fix. Let me give you a real-world example. Meet Sarah. She is 32 years old, lives in Ohio, works as a teacher. She has dental insurance but avoids the dentist because she is scared. One day, she feels a sharp pain when eating ice cream. She ignores it for 3 months. Finally, the pain wakes her up at night. She goes to the dentist. Diagnosis: deep decay on tooth number 19, a lower molar. Needs a root canal and a crown. Her insurance covers 50% of major procedures, up to a yearly maximum of $1,500. The root canal costs $1,200. The crown costs $1,400. Total, $2,600. Insurance pays $1,500, the maximum for the year. Sarah pays $1,100 out of pocket. Plus, she has 2 weeks of discomfort, multiple appointments, time off work. Now meet John. He is also 32. Same town, same insurance. But John goes for a checkup every 6 months. At his last cleaning, the dentist finds a tiny spot on his x-ray. A small cavity just starting. No pain at all. John gets a filling. Cost, $200. Insurance covers 80% for basic procedures. John pays $40. He is in and out in 45 minutes. John saved over $1,000 compared to Sarah. And he saved himself weeks of pain and stress. That is the power of prevention. But let's go even further. Let's talk about what happens if you neglect not just one cavity, but your entire mouth. Poor oral health is linked to serious systemic diseases. Bacteria from untreated cavities and gum disease can enter your bloodstream and contribute to heart disease, stroke, diabetes complications, and even Alzheimer's disease. A study from the Harvard School of Public Health found that people with poor oral health have a significantly higher risk of cardiovascular events. Another study showed that treating gum disease can lower blood sugar levels in diabetics as effectively as adding another medication. So when you ignore a cavity, you are not just risking your wallet. You are risking your whole body. Now, I want to address a common objection. I brush twice a day. I don't have cavities. Brushing is essential, but it only cleans about 60% of your tooth surfaces. The spaces between your teeth, the contacts, are where most cavities start. If you are not flossing daily, you are leaving those areas unclean. Flossing is not optional. It is as important as brushing, and it costs pennies a day. Another objection: I don't eat sugar, so I don't get cavities. While sugar is a major cause, it is not the only cause. Any carbohydrate, bread, pasta, rice, crackers, chips, can be broken down by bacteria into acid. That acid dissolves your enamel. So even a healthy diet can cause cavities if you do not clean your teeth properly. Also, dry mouth from medications, acid reflux, and even genetics can increase your cavity risk. That is why regular dental checkups are so important. Your dentist can see things you cannot. So let me summarize everything in 5 simple steps. Step 1. Brush twice a day for 2 minutes with fluoride toothpaste. Use a soft bristled brush. Don't scrub hard. Gentle circles are better. Step 2. Floss once a day, preferably at night before brushing. If you hate flossing, use floss picks or a water flosser. Something is better than nothing. Step 3. Limit the frequency of sugar and carbs. It is not just how much you eat, but how often. Every time you eat or drink something with sugar or starch, your mouth stays acidic for 20 to 30 minutes. Constant snacking means constant acid attacks. Step 4. Drink water, especially fluoridated tap water. Most public water systems in the U.S. add fluoride, which strengthens enamel and can even reverse very early cavities. Step 5. See a dentist twice a year, even when nothing hurts. If you cannot afford it, use the resources I mentioned: dental schools, community health centers, membership plans. That is it. That is the entire solution. Simple, consistent actions that cost almost nothing compared to the price of neglect. Now, I want you to picture something. Picture a grain of rice. That is the size of a small cavity. Now picture a stack of $100 bills, $5,000. That is what that grain of rice can cost you if you ignore it for 1 year. Now picture a toothbrush, a roll of floss, and a $100 bill. That is what prevention costs for an entire year. The choice is yours. Most people do not lose money from big mistakes. They lose money from small problems they choose to ignore. A tiny leak in a pipe becomes a flooded basement. A small crack in a windshield becomes a shattered window. A little cavity becomes a root canal, a crown, an implant, thousands of dollars. Neglect has a price tag, and that price tag is written in pain, missed work, stress, and money you will never get back. But you can be different. You can be the person who acts early, who invests in small habits today so you don't pay huge prices tomorrow. So here is your 1 action step. Before you go to bed tonight, look at your calendar. Find 1 hour in the next 2 weeks. Call a dentist. Book a checkup and cleaning. If you already have a dentist, book it online right now. That 1 call could save you thousands of dollars. Neglect's price tag? Thousands. Prevention's price tag? Pennies. Choose wisely. Thank you for listening. If this message helped you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. You might save them a tooth and a lot of money. End of script.